This is episode 1130.
We have become always look towards our customers, and we've worked with them through this. If they are needing to change products, if they're overusing the platform, we work with them because we want to have very long-term relationships, and that's resulted in very, very high mid to upper 90s gross retention, which is a metric for whether you keep your customers or not. But at the same time, we've also calibrated our investment. When things got more uncertain, we pulled back a little bit. We wanted to maintain a certain level of strong profitability. And that's enabled us to never have a riff in the company, meaning we've looked forward, we've looked at metrics, we've been good at seeing where things are going, and we've been able to calibrate the investment. So we really have not gotten over our skis ever.
When does a CFO stop being just a steward of capital and start becoming an architect of scale? That's the question I found myself asking as I sat down with today's guest. Think about it. In just 6 years, Datadog grew from hundreds of million in ARR to billions, joined the S&P 500, and became a platform relied on by some of the world's largest enterprises. What kind of mindset allows a finance leader to keep pace with that velocity through cycles of expansion, disruption, and now AI transformation? That's what we explore in today's conversation with David Obstler. We begin after this.
It's planning season again. Do you feel prepared? You're not alone. Many finance pros like you feel the pressure this time of year. But with the right tools, it really doesn't have to be so stressful. Introducing the annual planning checklist from Planful, a game changer for your 2026 financial planning process. With this checklist, you'll stay organized, reduce errors, and maintain confidence throughout the planning season, setting you and your team up for a successful year ahead. Don't let planning season get the better of you this time. Get ahead of 2026 by downloading the annual planning checklist from Planful now.
Yeah. Hello, CFO David Obstler is with us. Datadog is his 6th CFO appointment following financial leadership roles at TravelClick, MSCI, and Risk Metrics. Since joining Datadog in 2018, he has overseen the company's IPO, guided its international expansion, and managed finance at a time when cloud security, observability, and AI are reshaping customer demand. David, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yeah, David, I have to say, you've had certainly a multi-chapter adventurous CFO career, so we've been looking forward to talking to you. This is where we always begin. We just ask you to look back and try to think back to those early days, because again, I think you stepped into a CFO role around the millennial. You know, you. I
mean, I'm old.
Yeah, well, yeah. But how'd you get there originally? Go back in time and tell us who was that young person way back when, and how did you originally get that first CFO role? Yeah.
So I started out as an investment banker in technology, with some experience in taking companies public and doing M&A. And I had an increasing interest in the operations size of businesses, and particularly emerging businesses. And so about 25 years ago, I took the gamble and I switched over to the operating side. Best decision of my life. And I did that during the time, well, we used to call it the dot-com boom or the dot-bomb. And that was very important that I did at the time, because I really learned to navigate through some changing environments and learn to be an operator.
What was the nature of the company you joined? Was it a dot-com or not? Not really.
It was a company that had a content engine that served content and categories to websites and intranets. And when I got there, we took the company public. A lot of companies went public in that time. And then our end market really changed. There was a lot of extinction of early dot-coms. And so for the next 3 or 4 years, I stayed there and we redid the company, and markets more towards financial data, different people, different ways to go to market. And it was a great first experience for me. And we, as a public company, and then we sold the company about 3 or 4 years after that.
Again, and I want to just remind the listener, you never had a CFO role. You step in at that moment in time when there's so much a destruction going on in the market, let's say. Did you feel ready for the role? I think the answer is yes. And you clearly had all these, again, you ultimately sold the company, but can you just remember your frame of mind back then?
Definitely an interesting question I think about a lot. Why would somebody hire somebody like me? And I think they hired me largely because I had taken companies public. They wanted somebody to take the company public, to be able to tell the story. And I had a strong background in analyzing businesses, but I think that's only a small part of being CFO. So the rest of it I had to, learn. And I think it's sometimes people get in that situation and say, this is not for me. And for me, it was for me. And I really was correct about my instinct that I was an operator, that I was a builder, et cetera. And I learned a lot of that on the job.
So, you've now served, as I mentioned, as CFO of 6 different companies, I think it is.
5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah, tell us something. Do they have common threads across them? Size, stage, market focus? We see this specialization at times with CFOs like yourself.
They've all been technology companies, mainly SaaS technology companies. My early career was in financial technology, fintech. I've been a lifelong resident in New York City. That was because that's what was mainly here in terms of end markets, fintech, ad tech, et cetera. It wasn't for a while that you really had, horizontal companies like Datadog and, IT tech, et cetera. They had recurring revenue models, and they've all had, scale opportunities coming in often with a founder and or longtime CEO and partnering successfully with that individual to scale the company. So that's the commonality.
Over time, can you tell us something about how your approach to leading finance might have evolved? Do you do things, clearly over time, the technologies change, a lot's changed, organizations change. But as a leader, as a finance leader, how your approach, did that change?
I came in being someone who understood metrics and understood business drivers. But I think it's changed quite a bit because I view my role as facilitating growth in an organized and prioritized way, often with a product-led founder where there's product market fit. So I've learned over the years to partner constructively with that type of person, always looking towards growth first and then seeing how it can be delivered. And then I've also gone from managing small departments to managing a couple hundred people or more, and also interacting with all the different functions. And that's thinking about the people, developing people, growing careers, and also thinking about collaboration and getting common decision making rather than having the finance function be something that controls and tells everyone what to do. What I've learned over the years is you have to bring everyone along with you and make it a common decision in order to be successful as a growth finance leader.
Looking back, now several of your appointments came at companies navigating major transactions or transitions, IPOs, acquisitions, rapid expansion. Which of those transitions perhaps tested you the most?
Yeah.
What did you take away?
I think that's right. So I've tended to work with, be hired by both companies and investors, and the path to liquidity, whether it be 100% or through an IPO, has been an important part in the growth of a company. And so I think I've had some very interesting challenges. The first one I mentioned, when we had to, as a public company, do a turnaround. and as a public company and enter new markets. That was quite challenging. The second time around at RiskMetrics, we merged two companies of roughly equal size and went public about a year later. That took a lot in terms of the systems, the operations, the go-to-market, et cetera. So that was, quite challenging. At Datadog, it's been growth and scale. It's been, how do we keep growing the company? When I joined the company, we were around 300 million of ARR and around 700 people. And now we're around $3.5 billion of run rate and 7,500 people. So it's been a constant growing challenge in how to continue to scale a company internationally, different markets, different products, different ways to go to market. So, a number of the places I've been have had those type of a variety of challenges of growth, turnaround, scaling, et cetera.
Well, we do have some more career-related questions we'd love to ask you, but since you mentioned Datadog, let's find out about the company, and we'll continue our discussion. Tell us about Datadog. We're curious as to what the opportunity could have been that allowed you to take this leap one more time back in 2019 or 18.
2018. So I'm going on my 7th year at Datadog, so seen a lot. So Datadog, the co-founders of Datadog, Olivier Pomel and Alexis Lecoq, had done a great job in finding product market fit and investing in a product. And the product was observing cloud workloads, modern cloud workloads. It's continued to expand to both observability and security, and mainly around seeing the function of cloud workloads. So it is aligned to a very powerful long-term trend of the replatforming of applications from legacy applications and on-premise to modern cloud applications. And it, was a product that that had had a lot of product market fit in a really strong growing market. And so today, we've grown to having over 3,100 customers of all sizes worldwide. Some of those customers include Samsung, NASDAQ, Shell, Autodesk, Toyota. We recently reached a milestone in joining the S&P 500, which is a product of a lot of years of work of growth and strong financial performance. In our second quarter, which ended in June, we had over $820 million of revenues, 28% year-over-year growth, as well as over $200 million of free cash flow. And so this has been a company that has had the right product. And for the last 5-10 years, the company had scaled in winning, in its market against a very strong demand background.
From the CFO seat, what's fueling this growth, and how are you balancing your investment across these product lines that the company now
definitely. Well, first of all, we're in a long-term secular trend of the movement of applications to the cloud, which sort of triggers our demand. And the company has been product-led growth. So the company invests R&D at very high and consistent levels to continue to maintain and grow the platform. Entering a number of new markets. We started out in infrastructure monitoring and expanded to logs, application monitoring, security, and a whole lot of other things. So we've sort of invested, continue to invest. AI, which we'll talk about, is a whole nother set of investments that we think will propel the growth opportunity even further. And at the same time, one of my main jobs has been to facilitate the infrastructure to support that. And that includes expanding the go-to-market operations globally, That includes expanding my team and growing my team to support that growth in a whole lot of different areas, whether it be financial planning, predictability, business operations, facilities, etc. So we've been investing behind this growth opportunity and doing it in a strong, prioritized way to take advantage of this great market we're in.
Can you give us a sense of how you're assessing the returns on those investments as you look to expand globally, as you make those investments and whatever it might be, that infrastructure you talked about? How do you, tell us a little bit about your mindset when you look at the returns and whether they're everything you hope?
Definitely. We've always been a very good balancer of growth and profitability. We reached cash flow profitability and strong cash flow profitability and very, very quickly. And we do that through discipline analysis. We look at the return of our go-to-market. Are we getting the production in the different markets, whether it be SMB, mid-market, enterprise, whether it be North America, Latin America, or APAC? We look at metrics around return on that. And then in terms of product, we look really to our clients. We look and see what they're demanding, how they're using the platform, and understanding that that the power of the platform is that our clients can do their job in one place and effectively operate their applications and remediate problems very quickly. So we get signals from clients and then we experiment around that, create the products, see what the demand's going to be, tightly integrate them in the platform. And we are investing on top of a pretty large platform, and that's enabled us to get very strong returns. In some of the areas that we have entered, which, for instance, in addition to the infrastructure, we entered logs and APM in the last 7 years, and we've created businesses, which I think a few quarters ago we announced each were over $750 million of revenues. So we've been good at it.
As we have discussions with finance leaders, and again, you've been there since 2018. You have some perspective. One would imagine that macroeconomic challenges have come to the forefront, unlike any other time, given your tenure there. What would you tell us? How are you responding? How are your customers responding to those? Have you done anything to, make sure your lines of sight into those customers are being and the company's being responsive?
Definitely. We've lived through a lot. I mean, that's one of the things that makes my seat so interesting to be in. So we had a very strong demand cycle, a boom. Then we had something that none of us had lived through, which was COVID and remote work, et cetera. And then on the back end of that, we had sort of a deflation of that bubble. And then the back to normal growth. So it's been very interesting. So I think some of the lessons have been to continue to invest through it. These are opportunities where you can build on strength. So in the product areas, we've continued to be very methodical and consistent. And that's allowed us, I think, to build a bigger moat and distance ourselves. We have become always look towards our customers, and we've worked with them through this. If they are optimizing, if they are needing to change products, if they're overusing the platform, we work with them because we want to have very long-term relationships, and that's resulted in very, very high mid to upper 90s gross retention, which is a metric for whether you keep your customers or not. But at the same time, we've also calibrated our investment. When things got more uncertain, we pulled back a little bit. We wanted to maintain a certain level of strong profitability, and that's enabled us to never have a riff in the company. Meaning we've looked forward, we've looked at metrics, we've been good at seeing where things are going, and we've been able to calibrate the investment. So we really have not gotten over our skis ever in terms of our investment, and therefore had to pull back in that kind of way.
We'd love to know and understand better how AI is now shaping Datadog, compared to your arrival there, AI is really, again, come to the forefront. In terms of your customers, your product strategy, internal finance, we're curious about all these areas.
Yeah.
But can you tell us, how is AI shaping Datadog today?
Yeah, it's something that we talk about a lot now. We talk about with the investors a lot, and it's a multi-pronged answer. First of all, there is a demand cycle going on for AI tools, call them AI native companies, where there are a lot of products that are being used by either consumers or enterprises, and we have been able to monetize that. We are the leading platform for cloud and AI native companies. So we've gone through a significant demand cycle. We have, in our last earnings call, we announced that this sector is growing very rapidly, around 11% of revenue, that 8 of the top most valued AI companies in the world, AI native companies, are using Datadog, and that we have, I think we said we have over a dozen over $1 million of ARR, 80 over 100,000. So we've been able to be the observability platform for these companies. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Then within our platform, we are making investments in order to cover the AI workloads that our clients are using. We have integrations with a variety of information sources, and 4,500 of our over 31,000 customers are using that data. So we're covering. Then in terms of the platform, we've always been a company that uses information to be predictive and to allow our clients to remediate. And we've been investing significantly in large language models. We have some models that we've created. We use other models, and we are essentially enabling our platform to be able to be used with generative AI. That we believe will speed up the information flow, the analytics, the remediation. At our Dash user conference, we announced a number of sets of functionality that we call bits. And one of the most powerful ones where clients are really excited is bits used in service management. And what this does, it enhances the analytics and understanding what's wrong, and then helps the path in figuring out how to correct it very quickly. And then, as you said, internally, there's a lot of ways we're using AI. Some examples of that are we're using the various coding agents to help accelerate our software development, Cursor, et cetera. And we're also using it for sales intelligence. We're using it for some of the more automated functions within finance. And so we are trying to see if we can get greater productivity and speed in the production of our software, in our sales motions, and in our back office admin. So there's many ways that AI is affecting Datadog, both in terms of our customers as well as internal at Datadog.
So what we're curious about is the ROI then. How do you measure the return? And that was a nice overview for us. Thank you.
Yeah.
On these AI investments. I mean, are you concerned about this? Many finance leaders are finding it a challenge.
Definitely. It's a great question. I think we are in a situation where, because of our product, the first thing I mentioned, monetizing through the investment cycle in modern AI software companies, it's pretty easy to see the return there. So that's where, we have 11% of our revenues are there. In terms of our platform itself, we're still early days. Somebody like me in my CFO seat is looking for that evidence. Most of the time, it takes 2 to 3 years to get return on your R&D investments. So I think we're still in that area. We're still in the days of developing products, putting them in GA, and determining what the return is. But we're pretty confident, given our platform and how it's used, that there will be, a strong return. And internally, I think that's a very good point. We're in experimentation mode. I think we're basically trying to lower the barriers to adoption. We're doing it in a prudent way. We're doing it so it's not changing our cost structure yet, but we want to see where we're getting return, and we'll start to develop metrics. For instance, in coding, are we increasing our productivity in software development? And I, in my CFO seat, are waiting for those types of metrics to be able to calibrate the level of investment and what we do going forward.
David, just given the number of CFO chapters that you have, we'd be interested in knowing if you prioritize your team a little differently today. Do you have a similar number of FP&A professionals? Have you structured it a little differently? When it comes to talent and the finance team, has it changed from, that second CFO tour of duty, that third CFO tour of duty? How has it evolved?
Definitely, because of the scale and the global and product, I've really come to understand I'm dependent and on having the next level of reports and down from there be excellent. And I think they become more specialized. Early days, generalists, you can do lots of different things, but I think when you're at our scale, we have to have specialists in financial systems, in revenue, in FP&A, in internal controls, in real estate, etc. So what I've tried to do as I scale the operation is to get a leader who is great in their domain, has managed people because they're only as productive as the people who work for them, and who can scale an organization and develop people. There are lots of clues we get along the way from promotions, from engagement scores, etc. And so I watch that very carefully and see, do we have a leader here who is going to be able to scale? The people who I try to recruit and retain might have the ability to go a number of different layers up, even into succession. So that's really important. And then at the same time, we're a very analytical company. We're engineering driven, and we base a lot of our decisions on analytical analysis. So I really have to continue to grow the FP&A and the BI type of functions. So I would say a lot more dollars in that over time because of the complexity, multi-product, multi-geography, multi-data center. So probably that's an area where, we've been investing a lot recently in order to partner that function with our R&D groups and our sales groups and add a lot of value towards growth.
If you were to look at how you spend your time weekly or however, it sounds like this is a bigger part of your calendar than it used to be, meaning attracting, retaining.
Yeah.
It seems like the CFO mindset that you have is, along the way you said, I have to dedicate more of my time to this. I've got to get better recruiters. I don't know what it might be, but can you reflect a little on that?
Yeah, definitely. I've spent a lot of time thinking about how we get the talent we need, which is recruiting. We're all recruiters, how we go out in the market, how we market ourselves as an employer, how we attract, and then are we getting the right people? So we're spending a lot of time in growth mode doing that. We all are. How I mentor the people who report to me and then help them mentor the people that report to them. That's pretty important when you're talking about scale at this size. You need that, and then with all the different partners here, the go-to-market, the R&D, partnership with the CEO, et cetera. I spend a lot of time doing that. I think myself and some of the other people in finance, we spend a good amount of time internally educating people, presenting to them, building consensus around things. And then, with our external parties, whether it be our board or are investors, or I'm on a number of boards where, I work there. I spend a lot of time interfacing with that. So I think, yes, my role and where I spend my time has been, I think it's been, in order to become more and more productive myself, I have to scale myself, and that means developing people, processes, and relationships.
Nice. Thank you for that. We're almost up to our finance strategic moment question. I do want to just have you step back in time for us, because I think there was headlines way back when, and this is something in the back of my mind when we first had the opportunity to get you on the podcast. Datadog famously, or reportedly, let me say, turned down a $7 billion acquisition offer from Cisco ahead of its IPO. You had just joined as CFO at that time, and I'm wondering, what, if any, did you play in that decision, looking back? And if you didn't, you might have arrived after it.
No, I arrived the year before it. That happened, like it happens, sometimes when you're about to go public. The information about the company is made public, the progress, et cetera, so that galvanizes often for a strategic bid. And, I think the board and Olivier, our CEO, were at the center of that, helped. But it was really a matter of understanding, what kind of opportunity we had, and whether we were selling too soon, and did we have it, the product market fit, the and the other assets and drive to continue to grow. And wow, one of the best decisions. Of course, the company is many times larger, the value is many times larger, and the opportunity set is many times broader. So that's a great lesson in sort of in your point when you're thinking about what you do with the company. And you can tell through my career, I faced that many times. A number of companies we sold. A number of companies went public. Some of the companies we went public and then sold. So I faced the variety of different decisions. And that really depends on the market opportunity, the drive of the people and the investors, the alignment of everybody. In this case, kudos to Olivier and team who made a great decision to grow the company as a public company.
Looking back, it's easy to say, well, of course, it's so obvious today, but it wasn't maybe at the time. Was there any one factor that stood in the way, and you look back now and you're like, what were we thinking? Why was that, sort of stopping us from green lighting this so much sooner?
Yeah, I think the main factor was we were seeing evidence of a very substantial demand cycle and a very strong product market fit. We had successfully, as we were going public, extended from being more of a point solution to a platform, and to handle more of the observability and ultimately the observability and security problem. And we had feedback from the market and customers that we were facing a very, very large market where we could and developed into being the product leader. So I think it was that gave Olivier and the team and the investors the confidence that we were going to be able to build a big and special company and therefore go in the route of going public.
Excellent. David, thank you very much for allowing us to explore that with you. Hey, we're up to our finance strategic moment. This is where we just look for you to share a moment of insight that you've experienced. We know you've had so many of these, and we're just hoping you'll share one with us that you've had along the way, a moment of strategic insight, led you to pursue an opportunity, avoid a risk, whatever it may have been.
Yeah, a great question. I thought about that a lot, and I've seen a lot. I think because I've seen a lot, and I saw a number of cycles. When we started to have a bursting of the bubble of after COVID, we had a strong demand cycle. Nobody knew which way things were going to go. I think I was instrumental in being able to look at the trends and what was happening, and be able to understand that we may go through an optimization or more of a difficult time. And I said it probably early in our cycle of getting together as boards, first as let's watch this, then as I think there may be something happening. And what I think I was able to do is then reprioritize our investments and keep us on that path as a public company, and sort of pull back in some areas, make the decision that we needed to continue to invest at a very rapid clip in others. And as a result of that, I think that we came on the other side of that, having that muscle more, being able to figure out where to put resources to grow. We may have even been too conservative. It didn't end up being as bad as it seemed. So that gave us confidence in reaccelerating some investment. And as I mentioned, and I'm very proud of, we were never had to do riffs and sort of do something that might affect the culture of the company. So I think it was really having seen those cycles and really watching the signals that allowed me and my partners here to be able to make some decisions and calibrate the company in that way.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that, David. We're going to jump to what we refer to as the mentoring round. Hey, earlier we talked to you a little bit about that first .com, during the .com era, and you stepped into your first CFO role at that place in time. We're looking for some advice for new CFOs, people stepping into the role for the first time. And again, I think it helps to think back and understand that you were new to the role at that place in time. If you could have given yourself some advice, what it would have been?
Yeah. So I think one of the things I've learned over the years is look at sort of the product market fit and the product growth. And I think that given that I'm not a software developer, for me to partner with a product oriented, R&D type of founder CEO is a very good match. So I think that I can do a lot. I can do a lot in creating value if I have that. So I think one thing I've learned is to look at that. And when I talk to other emerging CFOs, I say, look at the company, look at what the product is. If there's not product market fit, it's going to be very difficult to scale the company. So I think that's one area. I think getting your arms around predictive analytics and understanding forecasting, understanding metrics, and going through reps on that is one of the most important things you have to do early on in the company. It's critical for decision making and prioritization. And so, I think that's another message that I would give to emerging CFOs. The last would be talent. Again, I mentioned it earlier. You can't do this alone. You only can do this with your team. So you have to, from, minute one, think about how you're going to create and develop the right talent. I think one of the great metrics one can look at in one's career is how many senior executives or CFOs have you mentored over the years. That's a good indication of whether you've been able to develop people. And again, you got to do it as a team. So I think motivation, and also understanding that everyone's not motivated by the exact same thing. So you have to see what motivates people, and you have to reach them on a personal level and motivate them as that.
Well, that's great. I think actually there might be another one here, which I don't know if you look at it this way, but one of the skill sets or experiences that you have demonstrated over time is how to partner with a founder CEO. I mention that because it's a delicate area sometimes, talking to all the different personalities and the strong-minded founders that you've experienced along the way. Help us complete this sentence for us. Before you step in to a founder, CEO-led company, know this.
Know this, that you need to listen, understand that you may learn ways to do things that are different than before. And I think the biggest thing is you can't be successful unless you develop trust. And that means that the founder has to think that you're in it with them. You have a high degree of ownership, and that's what breeds the trust.
David, we always like to ask our guests to reflect a little on the personal side with us. You've been there a long time, so I think your colleagues must know most of everything about you, but there's got to be something, an early adventure, pursuit of an interest that you have outside the professional realm, perhaps? I don't know. Anything you can share from the personal side with us about who David Obstler is?
Yeah. So I have been here a long time, and they know, and the people who know a lot about me, but they probably don't really remember that at one point way back after college, I was a photographer and a semi-pro photographer, meaning I was going to school, but I was also working as a photographer, and that I had to make a decision whether I was going to have a career as a professional photographer. And I thought about it a lot, and I think the main reason I decided is that as a photographer, you're really an observer. Most of the time, you're standing on the other side, and you're not in the action. And I thought about myself and what I enjoy doing, and I like people too much, and I like to be in the action. So I didn't do it, but I seriously considered it. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
What about a book or a resource you could recommend to our audience? Anything that's influenced your thinking or you escaped with, or something
definitely.
you enjoyed?
There are two books that I read this year that when I think about it, and when I think about it, I think it's very important to understand growth businesses and understand what your partners in a business are thinking about. And one of it is a book by the ex-CEO now of both ServiceNow and Snowflake. It's called Amp It Up by Frank Slootman. And it is really about creating urgency, mainly in a company, in this case, mainly about go-to-market, and sort of getting everybody on the same page and understanding what they're supposed to do and driving aggressive growth. And so in a company like Datadog, where we're trying to grow aggressively, that's helped me think about it. Another one on the strategic side that I've read a couple times over the years is Profit from the Core by Chris Zook. And it sort of amplified how I think about understanding your competitive advantage and building on that relentlessly so that you become a company that can't be disintermediated. And that comes through continual investment, building on your core, potentially sticking your core and not going to other people's business. And so those are two books I found value in thinking about the strategy and growth of a business.
Great selections for us. Thank you, David. We're up to our final question where we get to ask you to look forward finally. We're interested in your priorities for the coming 12 months as a CFO. What would those be?
Yeah, good question. I think about that a lot. Thinking a lot about profitable growth. And when you have as many resources and as much we're doing, where do you put them? How do you prioritize them? So thinking a lot more about talent development, as I mentioned, talent development in my group and across the company, and engagement. We mentioned AI, thinking about AI and all the different ways it could be used and all the markets that it opens. And then the strategic expansion, whether it be M&A or development. Where are we going? Which markets are we going into? Which products have the most promise? So those are some of the areas that I spend a lot of time with, and I will in the next 12 months.
David Obstler, thank you for joining us on CFO Thought Leader.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.